So I live in this little college town just outside of Austin, Texas, called San Marcos. I've been teaching in that town at a place called Texas State University for years. And there's a legendary little music venue in that town called Cheatham Street Warehouse, where the proprietor, Kent Fenley, started it in 1974. And he had a real appreciation for songwriting. He's a great songwriter himself. And he would nurture young songwriters. And some very famous people came out of that nurturing, including George Strait and Stevie Ray Vaughan and James McMurtry and Todd Snyder and Lynn Crossett. No, I'm kidding. I never. He passed away before I started hanging out there. But they have these Wednesday night songwriters nights that are just really, amazing. And I live within walking distance of there. And I was leaving one of those one night, and as a storm was coming in, and our normally raucous little college town was just quiet. There was no one on the streets, and I'm walking along with my guitar, and it wasn't storming yet. The wind was starting to pick up, but it was just eerie that there was just nobody out on the street. It's only like 11 o'clock at night. And man, maybe there is a big storm coming in tonight. So I was just like holding my guitar and walking faster, and I started humming to myself this little tune of like, I better get my ass home before this storm. And before I knew it, in the 15-minute walk home, I had most of this simple little song here that was on my last album. And it's called Get Myself Home. The lights go out on this midnight bar. The smell of you and this old guitar. I pack it up and I head for the door. You can't ask for much more than that anymore. Better get myself back home before the coming storm. I don't know that I would be lying if I said it meant that much to me. When the storm comes in and the town shuts down, I'm out here alone. When the storm comes in and the town shuts down, I'm out here walking home. Better get myself back home. I don't know what to expect. I don't act my age, I guess. I watch them spin across the plywood floor like we did so many years before. Better get myself back home before the coming storm. I don't know, but it's not for trying for everything we thought we'd be. When the storm comes in and the town shuts down and I'm always alone. When the storm comes in and the town shuts down, I'm out here walking home. Better get myself back home. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for that. The record that song is on, the one that I put out a couple of years ago for this latest one, was my first real, professionally, recorded. I've been writing songs since I was about 20 years old, but didn't have the nerve to actually, put myself out there and release a record. And, in my late 40s, I released my first, actually, early 50s, released my first record. And I was very fortunate to have, there's a producer named Lloyd Maines who has produced like every legendary artist who's come out of the Texas Americana country scene, and he's an amazing artist himself, multi-instrumentalist. I was very fortunate that he agreed to work with me to produce that record, and most of the record, and including this new record as well, he produced that one. He's really good at working with an artist like me, an independent artist with a very limited budget, and so most of the record is just me and Lloyd playing on these songs, and on a couple of songs he'd bring in another artist, and there's a guy named Dennis Ludeker, who is also just an amazing fiddle player, mandolin player, and guitar player. And he played the fiddle and mandolin on a couple of songs on each of those two records. And on that song I just played just now, he threw in as a bonus, and that little finger-picking solo thing that I do, in place of that, if you listen to the record, he's got just this amazing acoustic guitar solo on that just blew me away when I heard what he did with that. But it's an honor to get to work with, people of that caliber. And speaking of people of that caliber, I don't know if you guys noticed, next weekend, the artist who's performing here is a woman named Eliza Gilkyson, who's, I've been a huge fan of Eliza. She also came out of Austin, and her brother Tony Gilkyson, amazing artist. Of course, their father, a famous LA songwriter. Before our son was born, I remember going around and, seeing Eliza play in all these cool little places around Austin, and so I thought, I'm getting to quote unquote share the stage a week apart with Eliza Gilkyson. I'm going to play an Eliza Gilkyson song. So apologies in advance for those of you who are coming next week, and if she plays that song, just remember it's like, okay, that was the Lynn version. Will not compare to what Eliza can do, but I just love the song. And to me, I think it's also just a great Southern California kind of song too. It's called Beauty Way. Father made a pretty damn good living playing music on the Beauty Way. He's gonna die with some money in his pocket. Wish I could do the same today, little darling. Wish I could do the same today. A doe-eyed kid with a little transistor tuned into Wolfman Jack. I picked up the guitar, heard the sirens whisper, and I never looked back, little darling, and I never looked back. I worked the clubs along the Sangre Crystal, polished a diamond in the rough. By the time I hit LA, I was hotter than a pistol. But you're never hot enough, little darling, you're never really hot enough. I felt the lights on big, big stages, fire burning in my soul. I had those nights when my guitar was raging, but it's not something you control, little darling. It's not something you control. Red-tail diving for a ride on Sunset, coyote picking through the trash. I wish I was lying like a cat in the sun, instead of working like a dog for the cash, little darling. I'm only working for the cash. Sometimes I wish I could unplug this cord, and my soul or my money I would save. But every time I think I'm gonna quit the Beauty Way, feel my bones just turning in their grave, little darling, bones turning in their grave. father made a pretty damn good living, playing music on the Beauty Way. He's gonna die with some money in his pocket. Wish I could do the same today, little darling. Wish I could do the same today. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, that's just an amazing song of hers. Of course, she has so many more. That was one of her hits, though. Might have been on the album that she won a Grammy for in the folk category. But don't tell her I played harmonica on it if y'all are here at the show next. Well, I mentioned I come back and forth here a lot. I was just out here in July, and on July 4th, I was with my family at a Dodgers game, and the Dodgers are playing the Astros, and we're just having the time of our lives. And I didn't realize that, like, back home in Central Texas, there was this just monumental flooding taking place. One of the several 500-year floods that we've had in the last 10, 15 years in Central Texas. And I used to be a real avid or even sort of fanatical kayaker when I was a little younger, and I would look forward to, like, those floods, not to go like at peak flood stage, but there's only real white water in Central Texas when these creeks and rivers are kind of flowing close to flood stage. And so I'd get out there and try my hand at some white water, and taught some friends how to roll and come along with me on some of these what turned out to be sometimes almost ill-fated trips. And after our son was born, and he's a couple of years old, and I was still doing that kind of stuff, and I had a really close call on one of the rivers I was running at flood stage, and I just felt so stupid for taking those kinds of chances. And because during that same flood, there was a much more experienced kayaker than me, a local firefighter who passed away on one of the spots that I used to run. So that really kind of hit me, and I wrote this song. It's called Dam Number 6. The sun is high in that July Texas sky. It's been raining for days, even farmers ask why. It's been something like he's never seen, but he's watching the gauges, he knows what it means. How can he tell them he doesn't feel the same? Just doesn't feel the same since his son's come his way. 'Cause now he's a father like he's never had one. Just doesn't seem right to risk it all for some fun. But how many times that old creek does it rise? He spent so many times now walking in dry. Well, I guess it all started in the 98 flood, walking down to the creek, rocky clear and no mud. The water cut the rocks through the canyon so close that living in the city, landlocked sirens still spoke. He bought his first kayak, soon had 4, 3 for the rivers, 1 for the Gulf Shore. Well, the day it was fine when they drove from the ridge, with the water washing over the Lost Creek Bridge. But this ain't the first time he's run this creek. He's done it alone, hung over, no sleep. And that July day didn't seem so strange. They launched off the bridge in the white water rage. And soon they had made it to the first big drop. The water was high, but they always stopped stop to scout for the line through the slot that took you up the middle and over the top. They scouted it right before he paddled away upstream for the speed that he knew it would take to shoot him out right over the hole, feeling big as the sky over the Gulf of Mexico. Well, of course he was first, though with nothing to prove. No one saw any fear in his strokes, they were smooth. He paddled that drop like he'd just been dared, but the creek just held him like it never cared. And his friends, they were searching after, screaming and calling and calling and calling in shocked disbelief, till the volunteer rescue found him in a tree strained under the water, a mile from the scene. His paddle was gone, along with his boat it flowed out to the river, to the Gulf of Mexico. On and on and on it goes, on and on this river flows. Oh, thank you so much, and apologies for the bummer song about a creek, deadly creek accident. But, you know, you can't get more folk than that, right? You know. This next song is off my previous record, but I wrote it several years ago. Just thinking back on before we moved to Texas. I was born in Arkansas. We moved to Texas when I was really small, like 7 years old. But my most prominent memory of Arkansas was my parents got divorced, and we lived in a little town outside of Little Rock, pretty good ways out there in farm country, and just constantly, you know, this is the 70s, and, you know, there was no, like, paying your child support online. It was drive to town to go collect the child support from dad, you know, in the parking lot of a bar or something. And those memories, yeah, kind of didn't think about those so much in my adult life. When my mom passed away, those memories just kind of came flooding back, and this song came out of that. It's got probably one of the most oddly titled songs. The song is called Child Support Trips. Sitting on the front porch, all alone. It's too late to get someone on the phone. So I think I'll write a song about way back when. Maybe something about an old car, tires are wearing thin. On a monthly trip to see dear old dad, the child support is late and mom is mad. 90 miles of dark fields hiding all around, the heat coming from the motor and the windows all rolled down. But it's cooler in the car than our place back in town. The windows all are open and our hair blows around, crossing our fingers, we won't break down this time. Playing in the shadows of the dashboard lights, sitting on the front seat, my sister, mom, and me. My two other sisters are in the back seat, laying down. The windows all are open, and our hair blows around. The windows all are open, and our hair blows around. It's not the stuff you think about all that much in your 20s and your 30s when moving up. But now I've got my own son. I've got an old car too. Some nights we get out on the highway to see what it'll do. But my son will never know that much about that kind of life. And I guess I'll never know if that's wrong or right. As I watch him in the shadows of the dashboard lights. The windows all are open and our hair blows up around. I'm sitting on the front porch feeling all alone. It's too late to get someone on the phone. So I think I'll write a song about way back when. Maybe something about an old car. Tires are wearing thin. Thank y'all so much. Yeah, speaking of the amazing fiddle and mandolin player I mentioned, who played on both of my records, Dennis Ludeker, man, his fiddle and mandolin on that song just made me cry.